can I ask you this? So you speak to a lot of groups. You're lecturing. I mean, so when you walk into University of Wisconsin and you're talking to a group, to a class or group, are they all students not in the workforce, or do you have any young entrepreneurs or anybody that has business sort of there? Or and even when you're speaking to our group, by the way, Khalil, shameless plug for Dan. One of the most popular sessions at EDPA Access, Dan Serebin does a workshop called Management Issues Forum. And it's a lot of the small and mid-sized business owners that get to come in. And he drives a conversation not unlike this. So one of the great things about becoming a Dursey, team that built that, or a Zarnowski, or an Impact XM. What do you say, Dan, to that 5 million and under person, or the 10 million to $20 million business that a few some months back we did an episode called "How to Avoid the Death Spiral," right? And the death spiral being, I have to go get new deposits for tomorrow's projects to pay the bills today, or even clean up yesterday's projects, because you're that lack of capital reserves or inability to access lender money is, you literally are doing it out of month to month cash flow. So that was one of my segue questions is, what's your read on accessing capital right now? And would you, in this economic environment, would you at 8%? And what do you do if you're those smaller mid-sized companies that maybe don't have the financial bandwidth to do the longer term plan?
Well, to me, it all depends on the opportunity you're borrowing against. So I have no problem borrowing at 8% if the opportunity is that great, because I would be looking at it as, what is my return on this? It better be more than 8%, right? And my weighted average cost of capital, without getting into all the finance stuff, is a certain level.
Right, right, right.
But I have no fear of borrowing money right now, and I don't have any issue. Now, if it's a great enough amount, I'd probably hedge it and fix some of it and float some of it. But I think no one should be afraid right now to borrow money. What I think you should be afraid of is to borrow money for a bad plan, or borrow money for something that you've always done in the past. And it's like, well, I need to get my line of credit and borrow money. I'm going to spend it on X, Y, or Z. No, specifically, depending on some real estate too, you got to be really careful right now, right? So my
Yes.
advice is, don't be afraid to borrow, and don't stop investing. This is not the time. One of the things you talked about was the different levels of companies. And I teach almost exclusively now at the executive level. So it's always experienced leaders who are looking to get to that final level, right? So it's someone who
Nice.
might be just short of the CEO or the president. They just want to get over that top. But what we see with a lot of the really small organizations is it's made up of doers. It was someone who had some success doing something, and they're really good at doing it. But can they get to the next level? They have to become that visionary. So then we see some people flip, and they can start to say, well, this is what I see and this is what I want to do, but they lose sight of getting it done. And so almost exclusively now, the translation of these initiatives and their strategies into action is where most people want help, or where they really need the most help. There's a lot of articles that are written about whether someone can be both a visionary and a executor. And if you look at some of the most successful people, they can be both. But it's not untrue that there are some people who are really good at visioning what the future look like, but they're not very good at getting it done. And there's some people who are really good at getting it done, but they struggle with maybe being innovative and borrowing money when it seems like it's scary and it should be. The most successful people can do both, obviously, but mostly in that middle group, it's the translation of it into action. And one of the actions they should not be afraid of doing right now is borrowing money. The middle-sized companies and their access to capital will be trouble, right? There has been a tightening of
Yeah.
credit, and so we are seeing a lot of requests for personal guarantees and other items where, someone might normally have been a little bit leery. If it's the right opportunity, do it. There should be no reason why you don't borrow, why you don't make that personal guarantee, unless you don't believe in yourself. And so a guy like Chris, who starts this out by saying, I believe in my plan, I would not be shy at advising you, if there's a need for capital, and you adequately assessed the opportunity and you think you can take advantage of it, borrow the money. If you don't think you can take advantage of it, don't borrow the money. If you don't think you can translate or get what you want from this and really make it happen, don't do it, because then
Yeah.
then you're gonna end up paying the piper at the end.
I love how decisive you say that. And by the way, the right caveats, right? But not for a bad plan, right? So you really and hopefully there's any small business owners that are listening to this, right? You've got a group of advisors or a board or people that you trust that are going to help you sort of test that. Yeah, this is just great stuff, Dan.